Hello teachers, learners, and parents. Sir Jeff po, at your service. Alam nyo ba na meron tayong website na tinatawag na DepEd Commons? Ang DepEd Commons ay binuo upang gawing accessible ang pagtuturo at pag-aaral dito sa ating bansa gamit lamang ang inyong mga smart devices gaya ng cellphones, tablets, at computers. Dito ay maaari nating ma-access ang iba't ibang learning materials mula sa Department of Education. Meron itong mga interactive materials, electronic self-learning modules, at instructional video lessons mula sa DepEd TV na tiyak na makatutulong sa pag-aaral ng mga mag-aaral galing ka man sa public o private school. Walang problema dahil welcome ang lahat dito. Para ito sa mga guro, magulang at mga mag-aaral mula sa kinder hanggang grade 12, alternative learning system o ALS, at pati na rin ang special education. At huwag kang mag-alala dahil kahit walang load ay maaari mong ma-access ang mga learning materials. Tama! Libre ito. Ang kailangan mo lamang gawin ay i-on ang iyong data at buksan lamang ang iyong browser at i-type ang commons.deped.gov.ph. Alam na ba ng iyong mga kasamahang guro o mag-aral ang tungkol sa DepEd Commons? I-share mo na ang video na ito upang matuto rin sila kung paano gagamitin ang DepEd Commons sa mabilis at napakadaling paraan. Muli, ito po si Sir Jeff at kita-kits po tayo sa DepEd Commons. Paalam!
Magandang araw! Sir Wilbur po, at your service. Narito ang ETUlay upang gabayan ka sa inyong pag-aaral upang lubos na maunawaan ang iba't ibang paksa o subject. Ang ETUlay ay isang free online tutorial class na pinangungunahan ng DepEd Educational Technology Unit sa pamumuno ni Undersecretary Elaine Del B. Pascua. Ang programang ito ay hindi lamang para sa mga bata, kundi ito rin ay magsisilbing gabay sa mga magulang at mga guro kung paano nila ituturo o gagabayan sa bawat asignatura ang kanilang mga anak o mga estudyante. Sa kasalukuyan, ang self-learning module mula sa rehiyon ng Calabarzon at kilala sa tawag na pivot ang ginagamit sa ating ETUlay online class. Kaya ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Ihanda na ang inyong mga ballpen o lapis, papel o kwaderno at samahan kaming itulay ang pagkatuto para sa bawat batang Pilipino. Sama-sama tayong magtutulungan para malampasan ang mga hamon sa panahong ito. Halina't matuto kasama ang inyong online tutor sa oras na ito.
Okay, good afternoon. It's another math venture with Teacher Rev, diba? So, stats and probability time na naman. So, every Friday, nagkikita-kita tayo at exactly 4:40. So, ngayong araw, we're going to discuss about how we're going to draw conclusion about population mean based on the test statistic value and critical region. So, start na tayo. Yan. So, basically, nasa week 5 ito, pero itatawid natin siya ng week 6 ngayon kasi magkadugtong yung lesson natin this time. What will be our target? Una, ang target natin, we're going to recall and apply the steps in hypothesis testing. So, ibig sabihin, teacher, lahat ng diniscuss natin before. Yes, ayan, magandang hapon. Ang unang-unang kasama natin is si Miss Marita Yuwag. Magandang hapon po. Yan. And then, after that, we're going to draw conclusion. Paano ba tayo nagko-conclude in a hypothesis testing? Yan. So, start tayo with the recall of the general rule, no? In general, sinasabi, kapag ang absolute value daw ng computed value, kung ano man yun, kung t value man yun or z value, is greater than, sinasabi dito na greater than, ng alin? The absolute value of the critical value. Anong gagawin natin? Anong magiging decision natin from that? Ang magiging decision daw natin is to reject. Okay, teacher. This is the general rule. Yan. Now, pero daw, if the absolute value of the computed value is what? Is less than the absolute value of the critical value, what will be our decision? Our decision will be we are not going to reject or we're going to, yan. Ang pinaka-decision is fail to reject. That means we're going to fail to reject the null hypothesis. Pag sinabi natin fail to reject, hindi natin i-reject ang null hypothesis. And yung alternative hypothesis natin will not be supported. Okay. So again, nagdesisyon na tayo, no? O bakit nga siya fail to reject? Kasi naalala nyo yung discussion natin noon, nagbibigay tayo ng avenue na pwedeng tama si null hypothesis, tapos magkaroon tayo ng provision na i-reject natin siya. So kaya, rather than accepting it, our decision will be to fail to reject. Yan yung general rule. Pero, paano teacher kung particular siya in a right-tailed? Example, in a right-tailed test. Yan. Kapag meron tayong right-tailed test, if the computed value is greater, right-tailed siya, tapos the computed value is greater than the critical value, anong itsura nun, teacher? Yan. So, kung right-tailed siya, definitely nandito yan. Halimbawa, nandito si critical value. Yan. Definitely, our rejection region will be towards the tail. Natatandaan nyo yun. So, sabi dito, in a right-tailed test, if the computed value is greater than the critical value, mas mataas, what will be our decision? That means it will fall in this region. And we know that this region is the rejection region and the non-shaded part is the non-rejection. Tama po ba? So, ibig sabihin, what do? We reject the null hypothesis. Ibig sabihin, kung nire-reject natin si null hypothesis, we give our support to the alternative hypothesis. Okay, teacher. Yan ay sa right-tailed. Yes. Paano kung less than and it's right-tailed? If the computed value is less than the critical value, as what I've shown earlier, so yan yung critical value natin, no? Ano kayang magiging decision natin dyan? Kung ang computed value natin ay less than, so that means it is in this area, no? The critical value, what should be our decision? In that case, teacher, nasa non-rejection region siya. So, what do we decide on that? We fail to reject. Okay, teacher. And the alternative hypothesis is supported. Gets ko na yan, teacher. Okay. Ito, nire-recall lang natin, ha? Ayan. Less than, fail to reject, and the alternative hypothesis is ay not supported pala kasi nag-fail to reject tayo, teacher. Yes. Then, paano naman kung left-tailed? Okay. Ito naman magiging decision natin. In a left-tailed test, if the computed value is less than the critical value, di ba, teacher, ang left-tailed, ang critical value niya nandito somehow, ganyan yung itsura, tapos nasa left tail yung shade. Exactly. So, kapag left-tailed siya at yung computed value natin ay mas mababa kesa sa critical value natin, then, what will be our decision? We reject the null hypothesis. And, kung ni-reject natin si null hypothesis, ibig sabihin nandito yung value niya, no? We support the alternative hypothesis. Yan ay sa left-tailed, ha? Pag less than. Pero, if the computed value is greater than, okay, ang dami naman, teacher. Okay lang yan. Madali na lang yang ma-identify kapag na-drawing nyo na yung value, yung region natin, no? So, alam natin, ito yung shaded, at we know that this is the critical value. So, but if the computed value is greater than the critical value, what do? Okay, what will be our decision? Since greater than, magfo-fall siya dito sa non-rejection region. Tama ba? If that's the case, we fail to reject. That will be our conclusion. Now, when we say drawing conclusion, kailangan natin alamin yung mga dati nating pag-aralan. No? So, mamaya, i-recall natin yan. The null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis, kapag fail to reject, syempre, yung alternative hypothesis natin is not supported. Okay, teacher. So, yan yung mga conclusion na pwede nating makuha. Ayan, good. Medyo marami-rami ng kasama natin. Nandito na si Jerlyn, si Hermie, si Rosana, at si Amy. Magandang hapon sa inyo, no? Yan, I'm happy na kasama namin kayo this afternoon. Now, if we're going to look at how do we draw conclusion out of the given data? So, yan, no? If I'm not mistaken, di ko lang sure kung na-discuss na natin to last week. Pero, let's try to draw conclusion. Ito yung mga given information. We have the null hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis, Ano nga to? Yes, mean of the sample yan, teacher. Standard deviation of the population. Okay, mean of the population. Ando naman yan. And then, the sample size. Okay, binigay yan lahat. Ang tanong, compute for its value given the following information. Use 0.05 and interpret the result. Oh, interpret daw natin yung result. So, in short, gagawin na natin lahat. Okay. First, identify muna natin. Okay, ito ba ay one-tailed or two-tailed? Saan nga tayo titingin to identify whether it's one-tailed or two-tailed? Exactly. Titingin tayo dun sa ating alternative hypothesis. Kung ito ang ginamit natin, greater than sign sa ating alternative hypothesis, ito ba ay one-tailed or two-tailed? May binigay na direksyon greater than. O yan. Actually, tinatawag din tong, yung magiging sagot natin, ang tawag din natin dito ay directional. Yan, test. Bakit directional? Kasi binigyan niya tayo ng direction greater than daw, yung mean na 70. So, ito ay, kung ang sagot nyo ay one-tailed, you're correct. Yan, tama. So, one-tailed test yan, teacher. Mamaya na tayo mag-problem solving. Medyo technical muna tayo sa magiging decision natin. Ang gusto nating malaman, paano natin i-interpret? Are we going to reject? Or are we going to or our decision will be fail to reject the null hypothesis. Yan. So, one-tailed test siya. Kung greater than ang ginamit niya, ito po ay right-tailed. Okay. Kung right-tailed ito, teacher, ito ay positive. Tama. Tingnan natin yung magiging flow, no? Ayan, yung decision na. Ano kaya magiging decision natin dito para lang makita niyo yung end goal? Okay, so alam natin na one-tailed to, right-tailed. Alam na natin yan. The next thing that we have to identify is, ano kayang test statistic ang gagamitin ko dito? Una, is n greater than or equal to 30? Correct, teacher. Is the standard deviation of the population given? Yes, teacher, it's 8. Therefore, anong test statistic ang gagamitin ko? Ito yung unang item na importante. Pangalawang item na importante, I have to know what test statistic I will use. Ano kaya ang gagamitin kong test statistic dito? Ano sa palagay natin? Anyone who can help me with this? Ayan. So, kung ang sagot nyo ay, yan, kung ang sagot natin, tinitingnan ko kasi, ano kaya tumitingin ako sa gilid, tinitingnan ko kung may response na kayo. Kung ang sagot nyo ay, teacher, I'm going to use z-test, then you're correct. Tama, z-test, no? Z-test ang gagamitin natin dito kasi una, greater than 30, malaki ang ating sample size at ang ating standard deviation ng population ay binigay. Okay, so alam ko na yan, teacher. Those are the things that I know. The next thing, so binigay si alpha, teacher, na 0.05. Yan yung level of significance na tinatawag. Okay, after this, paano ko malalaman kung i-accept ko or i-reject? Kailangan alam ko si critical value. Ayan. So, kasi critical value, equal kaya siya saan? Yun yung tatanungin, yun yung i-identify natin, no? First, kung Z siya, ano ang kailangan natin para sa critical value? Kung Z siya, ang kailangan natin para sa ating critical value ay dalawang bagay lamang. Yung ating alpha at anong klase ng test? One-tailed. And we have to be particular kapag Z. Nakalagay dyan, teacher, dinicide natin kanina based on the given right-tailed. Tama. So, kung one-tailed siya at right-tailed at kailangan natin si alpha, which is given, 0.05, pwede na nating malaman ano ang ating critical value. Okay. So, sa this critical table for critical values of z-score tayo titingin. Ano nga yung kailangan natin? Alpha is 0.05, right-tailed. Ito, teacher, right-tailed, alpha is 0.05. Ayun, teacher. So, anong value ano ang ating critical value? Teacher, ano po? 1.645. Correct. Ayun, no? Positive kasi right-tailed tayo. So, may critical value na tayo na 1.645. Ngayon, ilalagay ko yan dito. Z is equal, critical value is equal to 1.645. Ipa-plot natin yan ngayon sa normal, no? Para makita natin ano bang magiging decision natin. So, teacher, kailangan ko pala malaman si critical value exactly. So, yan. Towards the tail. So, right-tailed siya. Sabi natin kanina, nandito yung shaded region. Tama ba? Ayan. So, once nandyan, ito yung ating rejection region and this is our non-rejection region. if we are going to describe the rejection region or the critical region, so describe natin, rejection region. Okay. Ang rejection region natin, teacher, anything value greater than 1.645. So, kailangan Z is greater than 1.645. That will compromise our rejection region. Okay, teacher. Anong next natin gagawin? The next thing that we have to do, may critical value na tayo. Paano natin didesisyonan? Kailangan natin ng Z. Dito ko na lang i-compute ha. Kailangan natin makuha si Z value. Ano ang formula ni Z? Kung natatandaan nyo, Z is equal, we discussed that last week, no? At teacher, naaalala ko yan. Mean ng population, mean ng sample minus mean ng population over standard deviation ni sample, ni population over square root of n. Okay. Very good. Ayan. So, may given naman eh. Automatic na nga yung given dito, no? Ang 71.5, okay, snip ko na lang to ha. Snip natin siya. Okay. Let's snip the value para ito kasi yung mga kailangan natin for the computation. I'll just put it here sa taas. Ayan, no? Okay, ito na yung values kanina. So, ito na yung values natin. Para tulungan tayong makapag-desisyon, no? Malalaman natin, nasan ba si Z value in terms of this particular activity, no? So, ang mean natin ay 71.5. Let's replace that. 71.5 minus mean ng population na 70 over standard deviation ni population na 8 over square root of 100. Alam naman natin na 10 yun. So, okay lang na ilagay nyo na 10 dyan. Okay. Ngayon, but I'm going to place everything here. Get our partner. Alam niyo naman yung partner natin. Ako ang partner ko, no? Si Casio Classwiz. Get your calculator with you. Tinuro ko na last week kung paano isolve ha kapag regular calculator ang gagamitin natin. Okay. Now, sige, ituturo ko ulit mamaya. 71.5 minus. So, since I'm using scientific calculator, maximize nyo na yung gamit. Naka-natural display yan normally. Tapos, fraction, then 8 over square root of 100. 10 naman yun. So, okay lang yan. Okay. And our answer is, pareho ba tayo ng sagot? Ayan. Ang sagot natin ay 1.875, teacher. Correct. Yun yung value. Yun yung tinatawag nating Z value. Ngayon, etong Z value, we have to locate that here. Nasan ba si 1.875, teacher? Si 1.875 ay nandito. Ayan, kumbaga number line to, no? Andito si 1.875. Ito ang ating Z value. Samantalang ito naman ang ating critical value. Okay. Nasa ang region ang ating Z value? Ito ba ay nasa non-rejection region or nasa rejection region? You can actually answer sa chat natin para mas engaging naman yung discussion natin. Teacher, siya ay nasaan? Teacher, siya ay nasa rejection region. So, kung siya ay nasa rejection region, therefore, our decision will be, ayan, ano kaya magiging decision natin dyan, teacher? So, if that's the case, ang magiging decision natin, ayan, rejection region, teacher. Thank you, Rosana. Ayan, so kung nasa rejection region siya, ano kayang magiging decision natin sa part na to? Okay. So kung titingnan natin, ayan, binigyan ko na kayo ng template para madali na, no? The computed Z value, balikan natin, ang computed Z value natin ay 1.875. Yan. The computed Z value of 1.875, which is compared to the critical value. O mamaya ko na yan lagyan. The critical value is 1.645. So ano ba? Anong greater ba siya? Is the computed Z value greater or less than the critical value? Teacher, greater than. Tama. So kapag ganon, kapag greater than, kahit naman hindi nyo kabisaduhin o kasi may drawing na tayo, obvious na obvious. Ano ang magiging decision natin kung siya ay nasa rejection region? Therefore, ano yung therefore? Sige nga, tulungan nyo nga ako mag-decision dito. Ano kaya magiging sagot natin dito? Kung ang sagot nyo, teacher, we reject. Definitely, we reject the null hypothesis and since ni-reject natin, sinusuportahan natin yung alternative hypothesis. We support the alternative hypothesis. Tama ba yung naging sagot ninyo? Ayan, okay. So, ganito yung drawing conclusion, no? So, punta na tayo in a problem base. Yan, madali na lang yan. Kaya-kaya nyo na yan. Gawin natin tong isang problem natin. The government claims that 10,000 is the monthly expenses of a Filipino family with 4 members. Okay. Sabi ng gobyerno, okay, ang claim ng government natin, 10,000 daw. Government dito sa problem ha. 10,000 daw ang monthly expenses ng Filipino family na may 4 na members. Okay. So, if that is the claim, burahin ko lang Yan. If that is the claim, ano nga yung claim natin? Definitely, ito yung ating parameter, if you can still recall, no? Yes, teacher, naaalala ko. Kapag problem and we're asked to solve certain problem, just like what we have here, diretso muna tayo. A sample of 26 families has a mean monthly expenses of 10,900. So, yung 26 families daw, nung kinuha yung mean ng expenses nila, it resulted to 10,900. The standard deviation of 1,250. So, etong and the standard deviation of 1,250 ay naka-anchor dun sa 26 families. Anong tanong, teacher? Is there enough evidence to reject the government's claim? Okay. Gusto lang nating i-reject yung claim ni government. Exactly. So, paano natin patatakbuhin yung data natin? Una, kailangan alam natin ang parameter natin. Kung siya ay monthly expenses, meaning, etong 10,000 ay mean, average monthly income. Okay. Ngayon, kung ito yung claim, then definitely ito yung parameter natin. Then ito yung sa population mean. Gets ko na, teacher. Okay, gets ba? Yan yung population mean natin. Sinabi din doon sa pangalawang sentence, a sample of 26 families. So yung 26, ano yun? Yan, ano kaya yon? Ito yung ating sample size. Anong letter yung nagre-represent sa sample size, teacher? Ano nga ang letter yon? Exactly. N. Yan. So, N is 26. Has a mean. So, yung 26 families na yan, may mean yan na 10,900. So, kinuha yung mean ng monthly expenses nila at ang mean nun ay 10,900. Paano yan, teacher? May population mean na tayo. Since 26 is a sample, therefore, the 10,900 is a mean of the 26 families. Therefore, siya yung sample mean. Gets ba? Tapos, meron siyang tinatawag na standard deviation dito. Ano yung standard deviation na to? Yan yung standard deviation nung 10,900, which is the standard deviation of the sample, 10,900. Okay, teacher, nakukuha ko na. Ngayon, anong gusto nating malaman? Gusto nating malaman, enough ba yung evidence para ma-reject natin yung claim ni government? So, ibig sabihin, gusto nating malaman na enough ba yung evidence para sabihin na 10,000 talaga? Gusto nating malaman kung hindi ba 10,000? Mali ba siya, hindi 10,000? Kung hindi 10,000, therefore, another statement would be, gusto nating malaman na hindi 10,000 yung mean. Ito ang magsisilbing null and alternative hypothesis natin. Gets ba? Nakita nyo na yung connection, no? So, teacher, i-connect na pala natin to dun sa mga nakaraang discussion natin. Exactly. If you want to draw conclusion, you have to identify alin yung null hypothesis at alin ang alternative. Bakit natin kailangan ng alternative hypothesis? Because we have to know what type of test are we dealing with. Will it be one-tailed or two-tailed? Kailangan natin yun para malaman natin yung critical region. Natatandaan ba natin yun? At saka yung critical value. So kailangan ko talaga, teacher, ma-identify ano yung alternative hypothesis. Exactly. Now, another thing, So, alam ko, sige, based on the given, ito na yung ano ko, null and alternative. Na-formulate ko na siya. The next thing that I have to do, anong klaseng test siya? Will it be a one-tailed or two-tailed test? Sige nga, tulungan nyo nga ako dito. Anong gagamitin natin? Titingnan natin, teacher, yung ginamit na symbol sa alternative hypothesis exactly. Yung symbol sa alternative hypothesis is not equal to, which identifies na kapag not equal to ang ginamit nating symbol, ano siya, one-tailed or two-tailed? Sige nga, tulungan nyo nga ako dito. Ano kayang sagot natin dito? Kapag not equal to, ito ay two-tailed. Oh, naalala ko na, teacher, kasi hindi naman sinabing greater than or less than. Sinabi, tama ba na 10,000? Or baka naman hindi. Yan. So kung hindi, pwedeng mataas, pwedeng mababa. Pero ang concern lang natin is, enough ba yung evidence na para sabihin natin tama? Hindi natin i-reject 10,000 nga. So yun. So ito ay two-tailed, no? Kailangan natin yun malaman. After natin malaman na two-tailed siya, so ito yung mga importanteng bagay, no? Para makapag-draw tayo ng conclusion, whether to reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis. Next, teacher. After that, so alam natin na two-tailed na. The next thing that we have to identify, anong test statistic ang gagamitin ko? So magpo-perform ako ng checklist na ginawa natin last week. Is n greater than or equal to 30? No, teacher. Kasi ang n ay 26. Okay. Gets ko na, teacher. Is the standard deviation of the population given? Yes or no? Hindi rin po. Yan. Ay, hello, Jermaine. Ayan. Familiar na si Jermaine kasi parang lagi ko rin siyang nakikita, no? Nakasama natin every afternoon. So, hindi rin, teacher. Hindi rin siya binigay. So, kung parehong hindi binigay, anong test statistic ang gagamitin ko? Teacher, t-test. Tama. I'm going to use t-test in this problem. Why? Kasi nga, mababa sa 30 ang ating ating sample size at hindi rin binigay si standard deviation ni population. So, hindi ko magagamit si central limit theorem to support the claim. Now, so kung t-test ang gagamitin ko, ito yung table na gagamitin ko. Anong importanteng alam ko? Recall natin, kanina z-test, no? Dalawang bagay lang, alpha at anong klase ng test. Kapag t-test, ang importante tatlong bagay. Ano-ano yun, teacher? The three important things that you have to identify when you're going to use t-test is, first, yung alpha. Binigay ba si alpha, teacher? Parang hindi natin na, ayun, nandun siya, teacher, 2.5%. Exactly. Binigay siya na 2.5%. So, ang alpha natin, kung 2.5%, isusulat natin siya as decimal. Paano natin siya isusulat? 0.025. Okay. The next thing, teacher, ano pa? Ano pa yung bagay na alam na natin? Alam natin na two-tailed siya. Okay. So, let's take note of that. Importante yan sa table. Ano pa, teacher? Isa pang bagay na importante is yung nasa yung degrees of freedom. Paano nga yun kino-compute? N-1. So, ano bang N natin, teacher? 26 ang N. Therefore, ang degrees of freedom natin ay, kung ang sagot nyo 25, tama. Kasi 26 minus 1 or 26 less 1 is 25. Okay. So, kung ito yung t-distribution, para makapag-draw tayo ng conclusion out of the given problem, whether we're going to reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis, the first thing that we have to identify is ano yung critical value ng t-distribution. So, kailangan natin i-locate si 25. I'll make it bigger para mas madali nating makuha to. 25. Ayan, hanggang dyan lang eh. Kasi hanggang 25 lang tayo. Okay. Sige, yan na yung magagawa ko to maximize, no? First, we're going to look at the second row. Kasi nga, two-tailed siya. Hanapin natin si 0.025. Ayan, nagkulang lang to. Ito yun eh. Ayan yon. And then, after that, anong hahanapin natin, teacher? Yung degrees of freedom na 25. Ito, nasa dulo. Kunin natin ngayon ang kanyang intersection. Teacher, 2.485. Okay. So, ang critical, ay, tama ba? 2-tailed siya. 0.025 siya. Okay, tama. Then, 2.485 ang value natin. Okay, good. Pero tandaan nyo na two-tailed yan, 2.485. So kung two-tailed siya, anong signs nito? Teacher, positive, negative. Exactly. So ang T critical value natin ay positive, negative 2.485. Oh, di ba? So meron na tayong critical value. I-plot na natin yon. Recall natin ha, T critical value is negative 2.485, teacher. Negative 2.485. Positive, negative, teacher. Yan, kasi two-tailed. So, literal siya, two-tail. Okay, teacher. Na-recall ko na po. O, yan. So, may shade yung dalawang tail ng distribution natin. Yan. So, ito again, si rejection region, and this is your non-rejection region. Same thing with the other side. Yan din yung rejection kasi dalawang tail. So, ito ay negative 2.485. Ito naman ay positive 2.485. Okay, teacher, gets ko na. Now, we have this value. The next thing that we have to identify is, ano yung ating critical rejection region or critical region? Ayan, baka kasi, sa ibang libro, mabasa nyo na critical region yung hinahanap, no? Ang critical region is also the rejection region. Okay, ngayon, paano natin i-describe? Teacher, dalawa. Lalagyan natin ng or for the union. So, the T is less than negative 2.485 or ang T ay greater than 2.485. Ito yon, greater than 2.485. Ito naman yung less than negative 2.485. Kapag nandyan yung t-value na makukuha natin, ibig sabihin, yan yung ating rejection region, i-reject natin ang null hypothesis. Ngayon, solve na natin yung t-value. Ano bang kailangan natin? Pareho lang, kaya lang since walang standard deviation ni population, standard deviation ni sample ang gagamitin natin. Square root of n. O balikan natin yung values. Teacher, ang mean, ayan, 10,900. Ito ang kailangan natin. Yan, yung mean na 10,000, mean ng population, mean ng sample na 10,900, yung n na 26, at yung standard deviation. Teacher, yung standard deviation ay 1,000. Ay, okay, mali pa ito, no? Iayos natin. Okay, ito ay 1,250. Saan yun galing, teacher? Ayun, standard deviation of 1,250. Yan. So, isa-substitute lang natin siya dito. O, palit na natin yung values, di ba? Ang mean niya ay 10,900. Kung nare-recall nyo, ang mean ng population natin ay 10,000 over ang standard deviation ng sample natin ay 1,250 over yung sample natin na square root of 26. O, solve na natin, ha? Okay, ngayon, ipapakita ko naman kung regular calculator ang gamit nyo, first, kunin nyo muna yung square root of 26 to 4 decimal places. Okay, square root of 26. Kapag regular calcu, ang magiging value niyan ay 5.0990, teacher, 4 decimal places. Round off. Then, okay, ang gagawin natin yung numerator, ilalagay natin sa parenthesis. 10,900 minus 10,000. Ayan. Divided by, i-divide natin siya dun sa denominator. Ano yung denominator natin? 1,250 divided by, pero naka-parenthesis yung denominator din natin para indicated na you have to solve the numerator first. Solve the denominator before dividing the two values, no? The numerator and the denominator of the fraction. Ano ba yung square root ni 26? 5.0990. 5.0990. May sagot na ba sila? Ayan, tignan natin kung tama yung sagot, no? And our answer is 3.6713, teacher. O, kahit 3 decimal places na lang. Sige. 3.671, teacher. Okay. Kasi 3 decimal places yung ating critical value. So, ito yung t value natin. I-locate natin siya dito sa normal sa distribution natin, no? Sa t distribution. If we are going to locate that, it's here, teacher. Yan, nandito po si 3.671. Ito yung t-value na tinatawag. Oh, paano yan kung nandyan? Anong magiging decision natin? Tulungan nyo nga ako dito. The absolute value of the computed t-value is blank. Ano nga yung absolute value? Pwede namang hindi absolute value yung gamitin nyo, no? Pwede namang hindi. Sinasabi dito na yung absolute value daw is greater than the absolute value of the critical t-value at 0.025. So, ibig sabihin, yung absolute value ni 3.671 ay greater than the absolute value of 2.485 nung critical. Kapag ganun daw, ano daw ang magiging decision natin or conclusion natin? Teacher, obviously, based dito, we're going to ano po ba? I-reject ba natin or if we fail to reject natin? Ano sa palagay nila? Since nasa rejection region siya, teacher, therefore, our decision would be, we reject the null hypothesis. Teacher, yun pala yun. Yes, yun yung decision. Ayan, tama si Heidi. Thank you, Heidi, no? Very good. Reject the null hypothesis. Therefore, anong pwede nating maging conclusion? Ito yung decision natin based dun sa values na nakuha natin. Pero anong conclusion natin based sa graph? We can conclude that there is enough evidence. So, there is enough evidence to what? To reject the claim of the government that 10,000 is the monthly expenses of a Filipino family with 4 members. So, ibig sabihin, enough daw yung evidence natin na sabihin, na pwede nating sabihin na hindi 10,000. Yan, enough yung evidence natin na i-reject yung claim ng government na 10,000. So, pwedeng mataas or pwedeng mababa. Pero yun, hindi siya 10,000 dito sa sample na to. Gets ba? Yun ang maging ko. Actually, tinawid na natin to on our next discussion, which is all about solving. Sige. I-direction na natin, no? Yan. Solving problems involving test of hypothesis on population mean it's the same thing. Magde-decision din tayo. Kaya lang, binigyan tayo ng 4 steps. Ano yung 4 na steps? Okay, sabi dito, kung magte-test daw tayo ng hypothesis on real-life situation, pero yung kanina binigyan na tayo ng scenario, no? First thing na gagawin daw natin is to identify the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. Okay. Kaya pala kanina yon. Yung kanina, nag-try lang tayo mag-decision based on the value, whether we are going to accept or reject. Ngayon, i-interpret pa natin siya. Okay, into a real-life situation, i-apply natin yan, no? The next thing is, we're going to determine the test statistic. So, next step, identify nyo kung anong test statistic. Ano yung test statistic, teacher? Z-test ba siya or T-test ba ang applicable sa problem na to? Yun yung next step. Ano yung third step, teacher? Find the critical value. Parang yan din yung step na ginawa natin kanina. Oo, medyo hindi lang ganun ka-organize, no? Kasi hindi tayo naka-step-by-step procedure. In this lesson, ang gagawin natin, kukunin natin yung step-by-step process. So, ano yung una? Kukunin natin si null at alternative hypothesis. When we know this two already, identify natin anong test statistic ang gagamitin natin. Z-test ba or T-test? Then, isosolve na natin. After nun, anong next, teacher? Kukunin natin yung critical value at idodrawing natin yung critical region. Kasi, di ba, actually, tayong mga learner, kahit kaming mga teacher, mas gusto namin na visualize yung mga scenario. Mas madali tayong magde-decision pag naka-visualize yung normal distribution natin. And then, we're going to decide and draw conclusion based on the comparison of the calculated value of the test statistics and critical value of the test. So, yung nakuha nating z-value or t-value, yun yung calculated value, i-compare natin yun sa nakuha nating critical value na galing sa table. Katulad lang nung kanina, teacher. Yes. Okay, medyo nilagyan lang natin ng organization, no? Pero, okay, papaliitin ko lang to ha, para mas madali nating i-label at makuha natin lahat ng information na kailangan natin. According to a study conducted by grade 12 students, sabi dito, 155 pesos is the average monthly expenses for cell phone loads of a high school student in their province. Okay. 155 pesos daw ang average monthly expense. Ano tong 155? Yan, kailangan alam na natin agad. Ano yung 155? Ayan, magandang hapon, Nestor. Yan. So, I'm happy na nag-enjoy kayo. Sobrang na-appreciate ko yung stat lately, lalo na nung nag-start na tayong, okay, talaga palang magagamit ko to sa buhay ko, lalo na kung gusto ko mag-start ng business, lalo na kung maggagawa ako ng decision. Exactly. So, sa bagay na to, sinasabi na nag-conduct daw ng study yung grade 12 students at na-found out nila na 155 is the average monthly expenses ng cellphone loads ng high school students sa probinsya nila. Okay, so lagay muna natin si 155, i-park natin dyan. As statistics students claim that this amount has increased since January of this year. So, merong isang statistics student, kiniklaim niya na parang, ay hindi, nag-increase na yan mula nung January this year. Siyempre, malamang nag-increase na kasi hindi kayo napasok, di ba? Pero parang mali yung nag-increase. Ibig sabihin, okay, bakit kaya nag-increase? Siyempre, nasa bahay lang tayo. Ay, hindi pala mali. Tama yung nag-increase. Bakit? Nasa bahay lang kayo, definitely mas maraming load yung gagamitin natin. No? So, tingnan natin kung tama ba yung claim niya. So, sinasabi niya na hindi nag-increase na yan. So, nung una, sabi niya ang monthly ay 155, pero yung kiniklaim ng estudyante na nag-increase na siya. There's an increase. Mamaya, gawin natin yan sa 155. Increased. Do you think his claim is acceptable if a random sample of 50 students, yung 50 students daw, random sample, no? Okay, so automatic tong 50, alam ko na kung ano. Has an average monthly expenses. May average monthly expenses daw na 165. So, ano yung 165? Average teacher, expenses. Okay, medyo ang dami na teacher. Sige, mamaya babalikan natin yan. For cell phone loads, using 5% level of significance, assume that a population standard deviation, binigay si population standard deviation, lagay ko na agad, sigma is equal to 52. Tanong, alin dyan yung mu? Yung parameter ko na mu, yung average monthly expenses. Dalawa yung average na binanggit, si 155 at 165. Pero si 165 ay average ng 50 na estudyante. Therefore, ano si 155? Si 155 ay ang ating parameter, teacher. Exactly. So, ito yung mean ng population. Gets ko na, teacher. So, yan yung mean ng population ko. Ngayon, next question. Ano yung 50 students? Sample. Therefore, the 50 students is the sample size. Na ang mean nitong sample na to ay 165. So, yung 165 ay mean ng sample. Bilis ni Heidi Ayan, may binanggit na si Heidi. Mean ng population 155. Sample mean teacher 165. Lalagay ko na lang yun because tama si Heidi. Yan. And standard deviation is 52. N is 50. Ngayon, ano tong isa, teacher? Sinasabi dito, ano bang gustong malaman ng statistics student? Ano bang kiniklaim niya? Claim niya na nag-increase na daw yan. So, kiniklaim na niya na yung mean ay nag-increase na by 155. From 155, I mean. Okay, teacher. So, yung mean na 155 ay nag-increase na. Yun yung kiniklaim nung statistics student. Okay, teacher. So, dito manggagaling ang aking null at alternative hypothesis. Alin dyan yung aking null hypothesis at alin ang ating alternative hypothesis? Anyone who want to help? Yan. So, the null hypothesis is what? Tama. If your answer is that, teacher, ang null hypothesis yung equal. Siyempre, dahil laging ko magamit ng equal sign si null hypothesis, di ba? So, walang change. Now, si alternative hypothesis is yung claim ng statistics student na nag-increase na. So, nagbago na. Nag-increase na daw to 155. Then, that's the first step. Identify the null and alternative hypothesis. Wow! Naka-first step na tayo. Second step. Determine the test statistic, then compute its value. Okay, balikan ko to. Snip ko na tong value natin, no? Okay. Wait lang Snip na natin para mas makatulong sa computation natin sa step 2. Okay, yan. Paste. Ayan, okay. If we're going to look at this value, yan, 155 yung mean, no? So, determine the test statistic. Paano ba natin i-determine ang test statistic? First, we have to go through the checklist. Is n greater than or equal to 30? 50 siya, teacher. Yes, teacher. Is the standard deviation of population given? Yes, teacher. So, what test statistic are we going to use? Naaalala nyo pa ba yun? Anong test statistic ang gagamitin natin? Okay, kung ang sagot nyo ay z-test, then you're correct. We're going to use z-test in this case. Okay, so gamitin na natin. Nandiyan naman na yung lahat ng information na kailangan natin, no? In the one that we snipped earlier, no? So, the z value is equal to the mean of the sample minus mean of the population over standard deviation of the population over square root of n. Yan. O, nagsagot ulit si Heidi. Tama na naman. Parang mapaperfect ni Heidi ang activity natin, ang solutions natin. Okay, ang mean natin ay 165 minus ang mean ng population is yung nasa null hypothesis, which is 155 over the standard deviation is 52 and then square root ng sample size is 50. Yan. Again medyo mas mahaba lang yung proseso pag hindi scientific calculator ang gamit nyo. Kaya lagi ako may calcu sa bag. Para pag may teacher, pwede bang paturo? O yan, dala ko yung calcu ko sa bag ko, no? Okay, let's start. 165, although alam na natin yung value, no? Pero sige, ikikiin ko lang para lang makita nyo paano natin nakuha yung sagot. Napansin nyo na seldom ako nag-step by step na parang ano mo na yung 165 minus 155 kasi may radical tayo sa baba. Kung hindi siya perfect square number, magra-round off tayo, mas malaki yung chance na medyo yung approximate value ng z natin, may slight difference on the value kapag hindi natin siya, pag nag-round off tayo ng nag-round off, di ba? Kasi laging may decimal, so lagi nating i-round off siya. So I'd rather have yung pre-nakasagot na kasi alam ko naman, alam nyo kung paano siya nabuo, no? So, okay lang yan. So, the final answer is, anyone who can give me the answer? Kung ang sagot nyo ay, ayan, natural display yan. So, decimal form natin, z is equal to 1.3598, teacher. Okay. O, pwede namang 6, no? Yan, 6-0. Yan, pwede rin yon. So, 1.3598. 4 decimal places. Pag ginawa nating 3 decimal places siya, 1.360. Yan, baka kasi malito yung iba, no? 3 decimal na lang. Okay. 1.360, teacher. Yeah, okay. Okay lang yan. May 0.1 difference. Kapag nag-round off kasi kayo, medyo may 0.001 difference yan. Okay lang yon. Hindi naman siya ganun kalaki yung difference dun sa magiging decision natin. So, may z value na tayo. Check na yan. Step 2, done. Okay. Step 3, find the critical value and draw the critical region. Use the z critical value table. Since z-test ang gagamitin natin, z critical value yung gagamitin natin, no? So, kunin natin to. Alam natin na z-table ang gagamitin natin. Pero, kung titingnan natin yung null hypothesis natin, gumamit tayo ng greater than. Okay. Kailangan pala natin, teacher, tingnan yung alternative hypothesis natin. Sa alternative hypothesis, gumamit tayo ng symbol na greater than. Pag greater than ang ginamit natin, ano to? One-tailed or two-tailed? Naaalala ba? Ayan. Kasi, kailangan natin sa table kung one-tailed siya or two-tailed. Teacher, ito ay one-tailed. Tama. Anong particular sa one-tailed? Left-tailed or right-tailed? Kasi importante yan sa z-table as a critical values for z-score eh. Teacher, one-tailed, Mapaperfect nga ni Heidi to. O, ito, kung one-tailed siya, right-tailed or left-tailed? Yan. So, since greater than, ito ay right-tailed, teacher. Ayan, very good. So, since yan ay right-tailed, okay, alam na natin na right-tailed siya, no? Kung idodrawing natin siya, okay, kopyahin ko na lang yung kanina. Hindi tayo nakakuha ng ano. Ayan. Ay, wait lang. Ayan. Lagay natin dito. Papaliitin ko lang. Ayan, para marami tayong space. So, if that is right-tailed, andito siya. Pwede nyo nang i-drawing actually. Pwede nyo nang i-sketch, no? Sketch lang naman yan. Alam natin na nandito yung tail natin. So, one-tailed siya, right-tailed. Babalik tayo sa problem. Anong alpha natin? 5% level of significance. Therefore, ang alpha natin ay 0.05. Yan yung dalawang bagay na importanteng alam nyo kapag ang z-test ang ginamit natin para mahanap critical value. Okay. Sige, teacher. Alam ko na, 0.05 right-tailed. Hanapin na natin. 0.05 right-tailed. At ang critical value natin ay ano? Teacher, 1.645. Tama. Positive siya, no? Ang maganda kasi sa Z, pinakamadaling gamitin to. Kaya, wini-wish natin, sana lagi na lang Z. Tama, no? 1.645. Yan. Balik na tayo. So, ang critical value natin ay 1.645. Yan. So, ibig sabihin, teacher, ang rejection region natin, RR na lang ilagay ko, no? Rejection region. Yan. Ang rejection region natin is anything greater than 1.645. Correct. Yan. O ngayon, meron na tayong critical value, balikan natin si z-score. Ang z-value. Ang z-value natin is 1.360. Teacher, 1.360. So, ang 1.360 ay nandito. Somewhere yan. Paano yan? Anong magiging desisyon natin? O yan, tulungan nyo na ako sa desisyon. Ano kayang desisyon natin dito? Draw a conclusion. Alam natin na anong magiging desisyon natin. We are, teacher, nasa non-rejection region siya. So, hindi natin i-reject. So, ang magiging desisyon natin is fail to reject the null hypothesis. Correct. Pero, anong magiging conclusion natin dito? So, sulat na natin, no? The z-computed value is, ano ba yung z-computed value natin? 1.360. Sa iba, 1, no? Okay lang yon. 0.001 difference kasi nga nag-round off tayo. And it lies within the what? The non-rejection region. So, alam natin na yung computed value, computed z-value is 1.360 and it lies within the non-rejection region. So, anong magiging decision natin? Reject or fail to reject? Exactly. So, we fail to reject. Yan. We fail to reject the null hypothesis. So, hindi natin nire-reject si null hypothesis sa kaso na to. Therefore, yan yung ano natin, no? Decision. Anong magiging pinaka-conclusion natin? There is enough evidence. Yan. To what? Evidence. Sana nababasa niyo yung sulat ko, no? Ayusin natin. There is enough evidence to support the claim. Yan. To support the claim, ano ba yung claim? That the average monthly expenses for cell phone load is how much? Kasi we fail to reject, di ba? So, hindi natin ni-reject is 155. at 0.05 level of significance. We fail to reject. Kasi di ba sa null hypothesis, sinabi niya na 155. Pero si statistic student, kiniklaim niya na hindi. Mas mataas sa null, mas greater pa daw doon, nag-increase na daw. Eh, hindi natin yun pwedeng suportahan. Bakit? Kahit napapansin natin, ay napapansin ko talagang nag-increase yung trend. Pero based dun sa na-solve nating value, hindi siya nag-fall under the rejection region. Nag-fall siya under the non-rejection region. So, we fail to reject. So, there is enough evidence to support. Pwede nyo rin naman, pwede ba teacher balik rin? Pwede din. There is not enough, pwede rin nating sabihin, no? There is not enough evidence to support the claim that the average monthly monthly expense for cell phone loads is greater than or is more than. Yan. Pwede rin yan, Pwede rin. More than 155. Ibig sabihin, walang enough evidence para ma-claim natin na tama yung para suportahan natin yung claim ni statistic student na more than 155 yung ating expense sa cellphone dun sa province. O, gets ba? Grabe, no? Isang, parang nakailang problems lang tayo, teacher, tas 133 na. Oo nga Pero okay lang ba na mag-isa pa tayong problem? Ayan. Kung mag-iisa pa tayong problem, eto na siya, no? Tingnan natin, mabilisan lang. Okay lang ba? Ayan, sinasabi na ang blood glucose level for obese teenagers have a mean of 120. So, eto yung claim. Therefore, eto yung ating population. Yan. A researcher thinks that a diet high in raw cornstarch will have a positive or negative effect on blood glucose level. So, may effect. Pwedeng positive or negative. Therefore, ano yung mean natin? Ang magiging mean natin dito ay not equal to 120. Kasi may positive or negative effect Yan. So, gets ko na yan, teacher, kung paano. So, yan yung ating magiging null and alternative hypothesis. Na dito, sinasabi niya, ang mean daw ay 120 pero pwede raw magkaroon ng positive or negative effect. Yan. Ang mean daw, wait lang. Kulang siya, teacher. Wala yung symbol ni mu. Yes. Nagmamadali kasi si teacher. Chill lang tayo. Or, pwede rin naman daw ang mean ay hindi equal sa 120. Yan. Tingnan natin kung paano natin nalaman yon. Yan. A researcher thinks that a diet will have a positive or negative effect on blood glucose level. A sample mean of 25 patients who have tried the raw cornstarch diet. Ayan, yung mga nagda-diet, no? Siyempre, kaming mga teachers, nagda-diet kami ngayon. At I know there are also some students, but you have to be careful kasi nga may positive or negative effect yan. Has a mean glucose level of 135 with a standard deviation of 38. Test the hypothesis as 0.10 that the raw cornstarch had an effect. So, hindi natin alam kung ano yung effect, may it be positive or negative. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang 120. Okay. So, equal sa 120, kapag may effect, hindi siya equal sa 120, may pagbabago. Pwedeng tumaas, pwedeng bumaba. Hindi sinabi hindi naman alam kung greater than or less than or kung positive yung effect or negative, no? So, ito yung magiging null at alternative hypothesis natin. Okay, ngayon, determine the test statistic. Para sa test statistic, kailangan nating malaman is n greater than or equal to 30 or is the standard deviation of the population given. Ngayon, babalikan natin to. Balikan natin yung problem, teacher. Mean is 120. Yung sample size ay 25 kasi a sample of 25 patients who have tried raw diet has a mean glucose level of 135. So, mean na naman siya. Pero siya yung mean nung sample. 25, teacher. Diet has a mean glucose and a standard deviation of 38. So, standard deviation siya ng sample 38. Sagutin natin yung tanong kanina. Sabi, is n greater than 30? Ang n natin, teacher, ay 25. No, teacher. No. Isnip ko na lang ulit para mabilis tayo, no? Yan. Snip natin. yung values. Ayan. Okay, para madali. Paste na natin dito para ma-solve na natin agad, teacher. Yes. Okay. So, yun yung mga values na binigay. The first thing that we have to identify is, okay, ngayon, ay, baliktad yung ballpen ni teacher. Okay. Alam ko na hindi siya equal, not greater than 30 ang sample size ko. Hindi rin binigay ito. So, ang gagamitin ko ay t-test. Very good. Kung t-test ang gagamitin ko, kailangan ko ng tatlong bagay. Degrees of freedom, alpha, at ano pa? At anong klase ng test? Since not equal to to, anong type ng test to? Two-tailed or one-tailed? Two-tailed. Yan. Basta not equal to, two-tailed yan. Okay. Now, next thing. Kung two-tailed siya, the next thing that we have to identify, bago natin identify yan, sa step 3 pala to. Yan. Mamaya, i-identify na rin natin. Ano yung alpha niya? 0.10, teacher. Okay, 0.10. Ang n ko, teacher, ay 25. So, ang degrees of freedom ko ay less 1. So, that's 24. Okay, mamaya ko kakailanganin yan sa step 3. Punta muna ako dito, identify ko, then compute the value. Alam ko na t-test ang gagamitin ko. Therefore, to solve, t is equal to the mean of the sample minus the mean of the population over the standard deviation of the sample over square root of the sample size. Yan. Ano yung mean? That's 25. Minus mean of the population, 1. Ay, wait lang. 25 ba yung mean? Balikan nga natin. Ano yung mean? 135. O, lagi ako nagkakamali dyan sa mean na yan. O, ayusin natin. Mean ng sample, ayan, klarong-klaro. Mean is 135. Let's use blue. Ayan, no? 135. So, ito ay 135. Hindi ko na yan mabubura, so aayusin na lang ni teacher. Yan. So, ang mean ko ay 135. Diba? Kaya gustong-gusto ko itong app na to eh. 135 minus the mean, which is 120, the mean of the population, over the standard deviation na 38 over square root of 25. Uy, perfect square yan, teacher. Yes. So, madali na natin yung isolve. Therefore, the value would be 135 minus 120 over 38. Then we have another fraction, square root of 25. Ikiin ko pa din, kahit alam na natin na 5 yun. No? And the answer is, okay. Ay, teacher, 112 lang na ilagay mo. Okay, 120 yan. And the mean is, ayan, 1.9, and the t-value is 1.974. Ayan. Kung yan yung t-value natin, identify natin ano yung critical value. Ito yung two-tailed, 0.10, 24. Okay, two-tailed. So, second row ako. Hanapin ko si 0.10. Ayun, teacher. And then 24. Ito. Ano ang aking test critical value? So, the t critical value is equal to 1.711, teacher. Galing ah. So, 1.71 24 ba? Balikan nga natin. Yeah, 24.10 two-tailed. 24.10 two-tailed. Ayan, two-tailed tayo, 0.10. Okay, 1.711. Pero since two-tailed siya, positive, negative. Yan. So, drawing na natin, sketch na lang natin. Andito si 1.711. Andito si negative 1.711. And then, shaded yung tails natin. Okay. Balikan ko ngayon. So, eto na. Alam ko na yung aking illustration. The next thing that we have to identify, ano nga ulit yung z-value? 1.974, teacher. 1.974. Nasaan si 1.974? Dito. 1.7. Nandito teacher. Nandito si 1.974. Therefore, anong magiging decision ko? Will I reject or fail to reject? Kung ang decision nyo ay reject the null hypothesis, teacher, tama kayo doon. We are going to reject the null hypothesis in this case. Okay ba? So, ayan, that's it, no? Sobrang extend na tayo. Thank you so much for listening. Sana naintindihan nyo kasi next week, proportion na tayo. So, we're going to leave this. So, kung nireject natin yung claim, ibig sabihin, we support the null hypothesis. Therefore, sinasabi niya na meron daw epekto. Now, if the effect is positive or negative, hindi natin alam. Pero sabi, kapag nag-undergo ka raw ng high in raw cornstarch diet, yan, meron daw itong effect sa ating blood glucose level. Yan, hindi lang basta 120, pwedeng mas mataas or mas mababa. Maaapektuhan siya, bababa siya or tataas siya. So I hope you understand everything, no, on how we're going to go through about this. Medyo naging matagal ang discussion natin dito sa part na to, pero I hope everything is clear on this. Thank you so much for listening. Yan. So magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. No, thank you. And I really enjoyed our discussion on this part. Yan. Sana nag-enjoy din kayo. Nag-enjoy po ba? Yan. So, if everything is clear, I'll see you again next week. Pero next week, exciting din ang discussion natin because next week, we're going to talk about proportion. Yan. Proportion tayo next week, teacher. Yes. Paano naman natin i-formulate yung null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis kapag proportion ang pinag-uusapan natin, no? Yun naman yung next. Next week yan. So, kuha na ba? Kayang-kaya nyo na bang mag-solve ngayon? Confident na ba kayo? I hope everyone's confident, no? Yan. Thank you so much for listening. Sobrang nag-enjoy ako. Ayan. Thank you kay Erica, kay Heidi. Yan. Napaka-active ni Heidi today, no? And kay Miss Ethel, Nestor. Yan. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed learning statistics. Sobrang exciting pa. Marami pa tayong pag-aaralan about stat. We have 2 weeks to go. Thank you and goodbye, everyone. I hope we're going to see each other again next week. Malapit na, 2 weeks na lang, malapit na yung bakasyon, no? So, yan. Sobrang nag-enjoy ako in discussing this with you. If you have questions, you can actually ask, no, anytime. Naman. Through our chat box, ganyan. So with that, thank you so much. Bye. I'll see you next week. God bless. Enjoy your weekend and be a blessing to other people. Share what you learned in ETUlay to your classmates and to your colleagues. Have a great weekend, everyone. God bless.
Sigurado ako na marami ka na namang natutuhan sa ating ETUlay tutorial session ngayong araw. Tandaan, ito ay hindi lamang para sa ating mga mag-aaral, kundi pati rin sa ating mga minamahal na guro at mga magulang na kaagapay natin para maituloy ang pagkatuto sa kabila ng nararanasang pandemya. Patuloy ding sumubaybay sa DepEd TV para sa mga araling ginawang video episodes. Mapapanood ito mula Lunes hanggang Sabado, alas 7 ng umaga hanggang alas 7 ng gabi sa inyong mga telebisyon. Abangan sa Lunes mula 1:00 ng tanghali ang iba pang aralin sa ating ETUlay free online tutorial session sa Science. I-like and subscribe at manatiling nakasubaybay sa ating ETUlay tutorial session sa DepEd Edtech Unit FB page at Educational Technology Unit channel sa YouTube at sa DepEd Tayo at DepEd Philippines social media accounts. Paalam!